Hi, fans. I'm the PC Expert Amateur, and this is episode 45 of the airflow and pressure differential comparison of 120 millimeter fans. As always, I want to remind you that this is my anemometer or airflow meter, and unfortunately, it only has 4 decimal places instead of 5, and so for the area setting. So even though I calibrated this against the Noctua A12 by 25, as the numbers get larger and larger, there is some distortion. I can't tell you how much the distortion is because I am not mathematically inclined, so I cannot calculate that for you. But I can tell you that it does distort as the numbers get larger. That's the bad news. The good news is that even though there's a distortion, it doesn't change the fact that it allows that number, that airflow number, allows me to rank the fans accurately. So don't worry about that. And don't forget, I use cubic meters per hour, not cubic feet per minute. I'm trying to move America into the metric age because just it's stupid not to. I mean, it's stupid. It's been around for a really long time, and there was an effort when I was a kid in grade school in the 1970s to switch to metric, and too many people went, "Oh no, we don't want to leave the imperial system because we're troglodytes." So I'm trying to push you guys forward. All right. Anyways, these are the fans that we're looking at today. The Gelid Solutions Silent 12 TC. It's got a thermistor in it that controls the speed, which provided me with a bit of a challenge because I had to heat up the thermistor without melting it so that it would actually get up to the speeds that it's supposed to get up to. And that kind of worked. So I tried boiling water first, and that failed. And then I tried using another solution, and that was a portable heater that I've got that I bought for testing purposes, and that got it to where the maximum speed was exceeded by over 100 RPMs, but the minimum speed was not at where it should have been. So you'll see that in the first screen that'll be coming up. Anyways, the next one is the Vetroo ARGB120 and the Jonsbo FR505 reverse, the Akasa Vegas A12, and the Phanteks SK 120 or PH-F120 SK DRGB. So those are the fans that we're going to be looking at today. And what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to put up on the screen the RPM results from my testing them. And I'd like you to take a look at those results as well as the take a look at pictures of the fan. Look at the gapping between the fan blades, the fan blade design, the frame design, the hub diameter, and so forth, and see if you can speculate on these fans. Which one's the worst for airflow and which one's the best? And I'll give you a tip. The wider the gap between, and this may or may, if there's a big gap between the blades, that means the fan was specifically designed for airflow and not for pressure. Just for you to consider. And I'm not saying that there's a direct relationship between static pressure and pressure differential. Static pressure does influence pressure differential, but I can't tell you what the relationship is like exactly because, again, not a mathematician here. So I want you to, in the comments, put your guess for the worst fan for pressure, airflow and the best, and then the worst fan for pressure differential and the best. And please don't erase your answers. I just want you to try and see how it goes. And hopefully if you keep on doing this over and over again, you'll start to get a feel for when a fan is going to perform really well and when it's not going to perform well on one or the other of the specs. Consider this a learning experience, but there are no rewards, so there's no pressure, okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at that list. And here we can see that the Vetroo was the worst at 1480 RPMs. You can see that it was supposed to get to 800 minimum, but it only got to 580 using that heater. And the maximum was supposed, I'm sorry, not that one, not the Vetroo. But it's supposed to get to 800, but it only got to 580. And then the maximum was 1300, but it got to 1480. So that's impressive that it got that fast. And Vetroo, I asked them, do you have a high performance fan? Because I'd like to review that if you do. And they said to me, sorry, we don't. And then Sama said the same thing. Gelid, They came in at 1610, published was 1500. The Phanteks also was supposed to be 1500, came in at 1630. The Jonsbo was supposed to be 1800, came in at 1840. The Akasa was supposed to be 2000, came in at 2080. Now, going back to the Gelid, since it uses the Thermistor, the reason that the 750 turned into a 510, I don't know. Because as you can see, the maximum was 110 over the published RPMs for this fan. So I'm going to give you a moment here to put your guesses in the comments. Go ahead and pause. And here we can see the results. The Jonsbo was the worst at only 117 CFMs. The Phanteks did significantly better at 150. The Gelid was slightly better than it at 156.6. The Vetroo was a bit more, but not a lot more, better than the Gelid at 163.8. And the Akasa trumped them all very handily at 202.2. I did not see that coming. I will be honest with you, I did not expect that the Akasa would be the best of the five. So how'd you do on that one? Let's go ahead and take a look at the pressure differential. Okay, so the Gelid came in as the worst at 71. The Phanteks was at 72. The Vetroo at 75. The Akasa at 78. And they actually got beaten out by the Jonsbo at 79, which is interesting if you think about it, because on the last screen, the Jonsbo was the worst for airflow, but it's the best for pressure differential. So, that kind of implies something, but I guess we're going to have to figure that out, aren't we? All right, now let's take a look at the entire list of fans that I have done in this comparison series so far, and we'll see how these five stack up against them. I've got a neighbor with a dog, and all day, all night, it barks. The neighbor doesn't do anything about it. It's very annoying. Okay, so we can see all the fans are organized by RPMs. Please keep in mind that RPMs are not the prime factor for determining a fan's performance. You will see fans that have low RPMs and are down near the bottom of the list, and you will see fans with high RPMs, although not the highest, at the top of the list. So there is a relationship. It's a complex one. It depends on many different factors. I would say that the most straightforward would be the relationship between the volume of the fan and the RPMs. Let's take a look at that now. Here we go. I'll give us some more space here. So the Kingwin is the worst at 700, or weakest at 780.3, followed by the damaged Spire Air Force. I wish I would have been able to get a new one, but yeah, can't. And then they discontinued Silverstone Suscool 121 and the Enermax TB Silence. So none of them are in this first quartile here, but we can see that the Vetroo, Gelid, and Phanteks are all in the second quartile. The Jonsbo is in the third quartile, and the Akasa is in the fourth quartile. Just barely. In fact, it may even be in the third quartile. It's kind of hard to tell for sure, but approximately, excuse me. Now, I'm going to rearrange this on pressure differential so we can see how all the fans fare on that one. Okay, so we can see that the worst is the Lamptron Nova at only 20 degrees, then the UNM Life at 21, and then we quickly move into the 30s, the 40s, and farther down we move into the 50s, and none of our fans are in this group, and they shouldn't be. They should be in the third or fourth quartile. So let's go ahead and keep on going here. Nothing in the second quartile. And the Gelid Solutions is just barely in the third quartile. The Phanteks, the Vetroo, Akasa, and Jonsbo are in the fourth quartile. Hold on a second here. There we go. Although actually, the Vetroo, Akasa, and Jonsbo. Yeah. So that's how they stack up that way. Let me change this over to airflow. Okay, so now we can see that based on airflow, the Jonsbo is the only one in the first quartile, which I guess shouldn't surprise us too much, given how poorly it performed. And in the second quartile, we have the Phanteks and the Gelid. And then in the third quartile, the Vetroo, and the Akasa is the only one in the fourth quartile. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to scoot this over a bit so you can see the RPMs. And I just want you to see if you can notice any relationships between RPMs and the other two specifications here, or factors. And hopefully this whole list will help you to understand fans better in this respect. Or maybe you're just looking to buy a better fan, or you're trying to verify if the fan that you're interested in is the best one. So let's get on with it. I'm starting at the bottom where the strongest airflow fans are, with the Key Fan Club and the Young Yihao Snow Fan and the Pano Mounts and the Delta at the bottom there. And most of these fans at the bottom here are really, really noisy. I would say that the biggest exception would be this one here that's rated at 25. Now, I haven't tested it yet, but I would say, you know, it's pretty quiet if it's actually true. And then there's also this Eekhelb, I don't know how to say that, that's also supposed to be pretty darn quiet. And for what they can do, that's pretty impressive. So let me just scroll slowly, and you can take a look. You can pause anytime you want. See anything of interest. And remember, airflow is great for exhaust fans. It's also really good for intake fans, but an intake fan that doesn't have good static pressure is not a good intake fan. Whereas an exhaust fan that doesn't have good static pressure is perfectly fine, because it's just pulling air out. It's not pushing air through. And there we go. There's the whole list. I hope that today's episode has helped you somehow, either in learning about fans or learning about whether the fan you are looking at is what you actually will benefit from or not. And do keep in mind that when you're choosing fans, if you're trying to choose fans based on how they look and you want them all to match, you're going to have one of two choices. You either sacrifice performance, potentially a lot, to get a fan, a group of fans that look nice in your case, or you get two different groups of fans potentially that may not look as nice, but they work great to keep your computer cool, which is the purpose of the fans along with the cooler. Or you could try to get a fan that is a hybrid that does well both on intake and exhaust, and then you don't have to worry about it. You can hopefully find a good hybrid that does both. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for episode 46. Have a great day.
I need to ask for your help. Things have been challenging. Whose life hasn't been challenging lately? So if you can please help me out by liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, and turning on notifications, that would be really, really super. Also, if you'd like to help me financially and you can't afford to, you can do a super thanks on my Glenn's Fast Reviews channel, or you can become a member there. Or if you prefer, you can go to patreon.com/GLENNMII and become a member there instead. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Bleeping Computer for their support of my channel. If you need resources for computers, for getting rid of malware and learning about cybersecurity and stuff, Bleeping Computer, BLEEPING computer.com is a great resource. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.